Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to all of you. I am Mariam Khan. I work as an educational advisor at USEFP Lahore office. Today we have with us Dr. Ali Hussain Kazim. He is a PhD in mechanical engineering from Georgia Institute of Technology. He is also a Fulbright alumni. Today he will be talking about statement of purpose for PhD students. As you all know that USCFP has the world's largest Fulbright funding has the largest Fulbright program in the whole world in terms of the funding. And statement of purpose is a prerequisite for everybody and anybody who's applying for a PhD admission in the US. And if you're applying through the Fulbright route as well, you are required to write a statement of purpose. So Dr. Ali will start the workshop and he will give you tips and tricks on writing the perfect statement of purpose for PhD admissions in the US. Over to you, Dr. Ali.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for the introduction. So let's start with this. A statement of purpose workshop specifically for PhD. So 2 days ago, the Fulbright program for this year has been announced. I hope all of you are aware about the deadline for it. So in this workshop, I'll give you some of the tips of how to improve a statement of purpose, how to build it if you haven't started it yet. So first, my introduction. I have a PhD in mechanical engineering from Georgia Institute of Technology. I have a specialization in heat transfer and energy conversion. I'm a Fulbright alumni. So I'm a director of heat transfer lab. I'm a focal person for international scholarships at UET Lahore. And I'm also assistant professor at UET Lahore. So I review statement of purposes quite regularly. So I'm aware of some of the problems that students face, and I hope to help them in this regard. Thank you for joining. So before we get into it, why and what is PhD? We will go over what is PhD and how to get it. Then we will go through an activity called Qualify a Match. The gist of this presentation would be this activity, that how do you match your qualities with the qualities of the university you want to go to. Then we will go over some sample statement of purpose questions, and then we would go through different components of statement of purpose. And at the end, we will go over the checklist for it. You don't need to take notes during this presentation because this presentation would be available on YouTube, and it will also be available on the Facebook page. So just give your attention, and I hope I can add value to your statement of purpose. So why and what is PhD? So a PhD is typically a 5-year program comprising of coursework, qualifying exam, conference participation, experimentation, paper writing, teaching assistance, research work. So it is all these components, and each of these components make doing a PhD very, very challenging because these components are happening at the same time. So, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful journey, and I highly recommend it. But I also say that you need to be up for it, and you need to be very focused if you want to do a PhD. So in a PhD, the end goal is to create new knowledge. So this is the end goal, that eventually you will get to a point that you would add some new contribution to science and engineering. So you'll be making a new contribution. So this is the end goal, not the start goal. I would like to emphasize over here, because whenever students come to me, bachelor's, master's, or PhD, the first time I meet them, they're very motivated, and I give them a topic to do, and in the second meeting they are like, how will it lead to new knowledge? What is new in this thing? So this new aspect, don't worry about the new knowledge part, because it automatically comes with time. Once you have built your research, once you have known the topic, it is an automatic, it will come. Don't worry about new part, that what is new in the work you are doing. It will eventually come. Then when is PhD granted? It is granted when you are able to solve problems independently. So typically when a student doesn't have to go to his supervisor for each and everything, and only the major things, typically that is the stage when the PhD is awarded. Now, why should you do PhD and why should you think of doing PhD? You are passionate to develop new knowledge, that you are really focused, that you want to make a contribution. You think that you will or you want to make a difference. So that is one of the motivations. Second motivation is to acquire new skills, because during this time you will be having series of new skills that you will be acquiring. Then to become an expert. When a PhD is a proof that you're an expert in a field. So uh, so that is one of the motivations. And then finally, the career motivation. If you want to be a research engineer, academic, consulting, or maybe an entrepreneur. Research engineers are not common in Pakistan because we don't have those companies which are doing research. But in developed world, research engineers are a very integral part of a company. So research engineers is a very realistic, is a very big opportunity for a PhD. Then if you want to have an academic career, world over in an academics, uh, if you want to have a career in academia, in teaching, then you need to have a PhD. Then an interesting thing that I learned towards the end of my PhD is consulting. So consulting, there are many companies which offer consulting services, which are basically that if a certain company is facing any problem, they hire people from outside the company to come in and look at their problem from an outer perspective. As a result, they are able to get to the solution much more quickly than if you are inside that problem. So consulting companies are very high paying companies, and they have a very challenging career path. So these consulting companies, the top consulting companies, half of their staff is MBA, and the other staff is PhD. Because like the bottom left corner of this slide, that a PhD is a person who can solve problems independently. So that is a very good opportunity. And the last, the entrepreneur, and it is very common nowadays. It is becoming very common that your research that you do makes a fit in a market. So there is a whole pathway. If you get to do a PhD from America, there's a whole pathway of finding the fit for your invention, your patent, your research to the final market. They are very accelerated courses which help you find the fit. So entrepreneur, like many in my lab, I guess most of the people end up that I know have uh, a company which is a research-based company. They are making materials, they are making devices which have a real impact. Now, this workshop was about writing SOP, how all of this tie in with writing an SOP. So an SOP is basically a statement which connects your past with your present goals to your future goals. So your present goals and your future goals, between them, the bridge is your next degree. So a good statement of purpose is one in which they are able to connect the dots. They are able to connect that, they are able to convey that they are passionate about creating new knowledge. They know or they have few skills which will help them in the path to PhD, and they want to be an expert. And why they want to be an expert? The reason can be that you want to solve a certain problem. Then the career path is also important. So in a PhD, the biggest difference between a PhD statement of purpose and a master's statement of purpose is that the PhD statement of purpose is much more focused of what you want to do, a little bit how you want to do the research, and what will you do afterwards. This clarity is very, very important at the start of PhD, because a PhD is typically a 5-year program. And during those 5 years, a time comes when you start questioning that why did you start this in the first place? Your motivation you start to question your motivation. But if you're focused, but if you are very passionate at the start of the program, that passion can take you through the program. So it's very good to be very focused in your SOP. Some of the students ask me that if we are too focused, what if a researcher who has some other background is reviewing that SOP? What will they think? So for example, you have written an SOP on energy, and someone from biotechnology is looking at your SOP. And okay, so they would not be able to make the connection between biotechnology and energy, but they'll be able to make the connection that how passionate, how focused is this individual, how many skills does he already have, and what career they want to go to. So that these things, your passion, the skills, they transcend from one degree to the other. So it's good to be focused. So we'll get to it. So again, PhD is a very rigorous program, so you need to be motivated to go for it. And doing a PhD is it's like when we were growing up, having a master's was something that few people used to do it. Nowadays, masters getting very common, and in the future, in coming 10 years, the PhD would all the more become more common. Because like if you were aware that HEC has also exempted masters from doing a PhD. If you want to do a PhD in Pakistan, you don't have to have a master's. Now this reason that everyone is doing PhD and you should do that, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you need to be very motivated to do one. And PhDs are independent problem solvers. So think of it like that you will be acquiring skills which will make you an expert, and which will equip you with skills which you can take forward and solve many problems which might be very different from your field. So let's get into statement of purpose. So before starting off the statement of purpose, the gist of this workshop is that you need to convey to the reader of your SOP that you are hardworking, that you like challenging problems, that you're an honest person, that you have worked extra hours. You need the SOP, the person reading the SOP want to come to this conclusion. You don't have to write that I work very hard, I work 9 to 5, I've been a TA for like past 3 years, and so this you need to so this that you work extra hours, you've written so many papers, this is quantifying your experience. So that quantifying is a good starting point, because your CV also has this thing quantified. But you need to match, you need to write things which make the reader come to this conclusion about you, that you're hardworking and that you have good qualities. So what uh, do you need to match to? The first thing that you do after this statement of purpose workshop is go to the university that you want to go to, and identify three keywords from their purpose, from their objectives. So every university has their objectives, every department has their objectives. So go over there and see what they have written. Identify three objectives and then list down the experience which relate that keyword. So if you go to a university and its objectives are that we need to create leaders in a certain field, so write experience 1, which shows your leadership skills, experience 2, uh, which relate to it. Then you need to quantify that experience. So for example, a university wants good research skills. So quantifying means that you have certain thesis, but you need to, after quantifying this, you need to make an interpretation that through your research work you were able to achieve a certain goal. So you need to, the purpose of the statement of purpose is not to state things, it is to show the things that they are in your CV. So this is you on the left. So you have your attributes, your skills, your personality, your values, and your goals. And the institute has its mission statement, its position, culture, projects, goals. So you need to match your attributes with the attributes of the university. One common problem in statement of purpose is that you are writing on your own, that you don't make a match between your attributes with that of the university. The university wants to know that you want to come there. It's not that you have randomly applied to a university or a university that you're applying to and you found yourself there. You need to know the university, whether a certain university is research focused or is it not research focused. What is it positioned? Uh, where is it located? Will you be able to fit in there? Very diverse culture. Other are located where there's less diversity. Will you be able to adapt? What are the projects they are working on? Is there a project that you would like to work on, and why you would want to? So you need to match your attributes with the attributes of the university. So let's start with this exercise. So you know that you're intelligent, you're hardworking. One way of to quantify is that you do 15 hours of research during your bachelor thesis, which was getting a distinction. So this is your quantifying your intelligent and that you're hardworking. This starting point is what you want to show. You don't want you should not write it. I've seen students write it that I'm intelligent, hardworking. You should not write that you. So this is the exercise for you to show the reader that you are intelligent and hardworking. So this quantification is what I see in SOPs that students limit themselves to. This quantification is there in your CV as well. So you don't have to write this because it's already there in your CV. So this quantification can be interpreted by writing that you enjoyed interacting with students because it challenged you to come up with different approaches for thinking about the same concept. This not only helped students understand better, but also equipped me with the ability to communicate technical concepts to a diverse audience. So this statement conveys that when you were at the university, you were very involved in the activity, and you made an effort to improve the concept that were being taught. So you made the work, you made an extra work to make the concept more clear. So this not only helped the students, but it also helped you. So you're mature enough to know that once you are conveying, you're making an effort for others. You're actually also making an effort to improve your own skills. So we started off with the what you need to convey, to actually convey it by giving an example which would help the reader to make the connection. Now, this is a mission statement of an organization, of a university. So if you read it, it is to define, establish, and lead emerging disciplines of biological engineering, fusing engineering with modern biology for revolutionary address of societal challenges and opportunities. To pioneer creation of useful things from biological components, to prepare the next generation of leaders to advance bioscience, biotechnology. So this is a mission statement of an organization. So once you read a similar statement of an organization, highlight the words that they want to see in your SOP. So highlight those words. So define, establish, and to lead. Then to make societal changes, that whatever the research that you plan to do, it should have a impact in the society and the opportunities it gives. Now, creation of useful things, that they want a product out of your work. Then leaders to advance bioscience. So the word leader, the lead has been mentioned twice in the mission statement. Then analysis and synthesis. Analysis and synthesis is breaking down a problem into its smaller components. So have you done work in which you have done some analysis? Have you synthesized something? So if you mention that you have synthesized so much so, you will be able to make a connection with the reader of that university. So mission statement of the organization is very, very important. Now, qualify is to quantify, interpret your experience to demonstrate meaning. It should be concrete, it should not be vague. That you start with quantifying, that is hard work that you have put in so many hours, but you need to show that by some experience. Then you need to match that experience with that of the organization. Include only relevant experience. So this activity of matching your experience with that of the university, same can be done for any job interview. That you need to know the company that you want to go to, and you need to have examples which connect with those people. Or it can be university, it can be a job, so your experience should connect. So now, what is it? So a statement of purpose discusses your purpose for applying to graduate school as it relates to your academic professional. So so I'll be taking questions at the end. So a graduate admission basically is more focused. So it wants to know why you're applying to the school and why is it related to your academic and professional. A personal statement for an undergraduate is typically more focused on your background and what you have done in the past, which makes you a suitable candidate there. But a graduate or a PhD statement of purpose wants to connect the skills you want to acquire with your background, the skills you want to acquire at the university, and what you want to do afterwards. Now, let's go to so this statement of purpose. Some people ask, why is a statement of purpose needed once you have a CV, once you have all your academic credential? Why is SOP needed? Because it makes a connection between your achievements, between your academic achievement, between your extracurricular achievements, with the personality, with your motivation for that work. So two people might have had the same achievement. Both might be an excellent speakers, both might be excellent debaters, both might be excellent, have the same identical GPAs, but their motivation for certain tasks, their motivation for certain academics might be different. So an SOP helps to connect your CV with your personality, with your background, and more importantly, with the program. So it helps to make that connection. Then a question is that it can be written by someone. Why is it weighted so much that it can be written by someone else? So if it is written by someone else, the viewers are able to find that thing out. At some stage, if your SOP does not align with your everything else, that is also caught. So write your own SOP at the start and then take help from others to improve it. But your SOP should convey what you are and not somebody else, because that immediately looks very bad. Now, statement of purpose is a very good thing in the sense that your other criteria for an academic acceptance, your academic achievement, your extracurricular achievements, your standardized tests, all these things are achieved over time. Your GPA you have is a culmination of 4 or 5 years of your work. Your standardized testing is a series, you've done a series of preparations, you've put in the hours, and you got that score. Your extracurricular activities, again, if you are an expert, if you are good at swimming, you have acquired that skill over many years. So, but this SOP is a thing that you can do in a month, and it would have a very big impact in the final outcome. So if you're thinking that you can improve your GRE score in a month, or if you can somehow change your GPA in a semester, that is very challenging. However, writing a good SOP and improving it is relatively easy. So do make an effort, and it's very, very, very important. So it has a very high weighting. Do put in the extra hours of doing it. Now, a statement of purpose. So this is a typical statement which I'll read out. So a personal statement should be a narrative statement describing how you achieve your current goals. It should not be mere listing of facts. It should include information about your education, practical experience, special interest, and career plans. Describe any significant factors that have influenced your educational or professional development. Comment on the number of years of practical experience already completed in this field, in which academic work will be done in the US. Do not mention specific US universities at which you would like to apply. This statement was last year's statement of purpose statement for the Fulbright. So read this statement a couple of times and then break down this statement into its components. Your job is to address every component after you have broken it down. So it should not be a narrative statement describing how you achieved your current goals. Basically, most statement of purpose start from your maybe from very early stages, and it's a chronological listing of everything you have done. So that is one already mentioned in your CV. That for two is it would be very boring. Nothing, if a certain is chronologically listed down, a person would not be able to make a connection for the significant achievements. It would be just your history. So it should not be narration of your entire how you achieved where you are. It should not list facts. So this is what it should not have. Now, what should it have? It should have your education. And so, from your CV, from your uh, book, from your CV, it would be very clear what would be your education. So it should be in the statement of purpose should be more about why you got that education, why was it important, what practical application experience supplements your education, what interests you have. Describe any significant factors influenced by education or professional development. Uh, so what are the significant? Was there any turning point? Was there any challenge? So some students have GPAs low at the start of their, I'm just saying one of the low points. Some might have low GPAs at the start of their BSc or MSc, or they have GPAs low at the middle, and they might want to convey it. Or there was any other hardship that you got, that you had to reapply to university. You wasted a year for any reason that you think that reason you can use to convey a turning point, or a point that shows your resolve, that you can rise to a challenge. That you need to mention there. Then comment on the number of years of practical experience already completed. So for people who have practical experience, if they don't mention this in their statement of purpose, that they think that they end up writing a statement of purpose which tells that how they completed their bachelor's, what internships they did, what was interesting extracurricular activities, and they just skip this practical experience part. So they won't be graded, they won't be given points for the practical experience part when it would be coming to checking the statement, sample statement. So then it says, do not mention specific university, US universities. It says, do not mention. And if they mention, end up mentioning US universities, then it would be actually negative. It would go negative that this person cannot follow instructions. And that is one of the main things. The first thing, and it is easily checked that if you can follow instructions or not. It is easily checked, and it looks very bad if it shows that you didn't follow instructions. So let's again read this statement so that we can break down it. So from the third line, it should include your education, practical experience, special interest, and career plans. So this is one line, okay? So, and after that, the second line describe any significant factors. Okay, so these are three lines. Let's say you have written your statement of purpose. Divide these three lines into 10 equal components. That 10 marks for line number third that you read, then 10 marks for 4, and 10 marks for the 5th. Okay, so you are evaluating your own statement of purpose. Now you have given 10 marks to line number 3. It should include, so now those 10 marks are divided into education, practical experience, special interest, and career plans. give each of these 4 components, let's say 2.5 marks each. So you need to make a statement. You need to write something interesting about your education, your practical experience. You need to have a special interest. You should have a special interest and your career plans. So if a person does not mention any career plans, so they cannot be graded for this. Okay, so you'll have to uh, you won't be graded for that. So you need to mention your career plans, otherwise you won't be graded. So divide your statement, whatever statement that you will be writing, into its components, and as a start give equal weightage to each of those lines, and make sure that you address each of them. This would ensure that you will be graded for them. So it's very important to quantify your sample statement into numbers, because at the end that's how it is compared. Um, Now it's another doctoral statement. Okay, so I will not go through it, but broadly, what key experiences have contributed your commitment to education? What do you view as your most significant professional accomplishment? So each of these 4 statements, they want you to write about it. So make sure that you read your uh, statement very closely and you address each of those points. So normal uh, statement of purpose uh, is typically 250 to 750 words long. It is typically of uh, pages, typically 1 to 2 pages. Okay. So read the instructions carefully and contact the school department if needed. But in most cases, it should not be needed, because there's a lot of help regarding statement of purpose provided online. Okay. Now, what is the typical structure of a statement of purpose? The first paragraph is to introduce yourself, develop a connection. So this developing a connection is developed if you share an anecdote from your life, some experience which will help you make a connection. So try to have some personal experience that you can start off with in the first paragraph, because the reviewers are going to see your day, and you need to develop a connection with them. Long-term goal and how your program would achieve it. You should have a long-term goal, especially for a PhD. And what then your middle paragraphs should elaborate your experience. It should tell the experience, and then you can also mention your long-term goal, and in the end you need to refer back to your introduction, that what so all of these paragraphs should have a connection. uh, so all the paragraphs should have a connection. So always refer back to the introduction. So personal anecdotes. So any uncommon experience, like if you come from a background which challenge you getting to that education, or some interesting experience, some that help you motivate. If you're a first generation to attend college, that in itself is quite an achievement. So you need to share that, any hardships that you came across. So, and then you need to tie in between your inspiration, your experience, and your current interest. So you need to maintain the balance. you need to be between personal and academically professional. That the experience should not be that too much personal that it would uh, like, for example, you may end up writing that there were certain accident, there was certain hardship, and and how it was a challenge, and you end up crying over it, or it was a big, like, don't need to prolong the agony in the anecdote. You just need to state the anecdote. You don't need to drag it, or you don't need to sketch it, like I would say that you don't have to prolong it. So it should be professional, it should be now essentials for a statement of purpose, that your educational and recreational achievements, that how did you obtain the education, and what hardships, what difficulties that you came across. Then if you have done certain community outreach, because a part of uh, graduate education, 5 long years in a completely new place, you need to be socially accepting of other cultures. That how can you can you accept other cultures? Can you become part of the fabric? Can you work with them? So discussion of your preparation and background, what you have already done. So in research, if you're writing a PhD statement of purpose, uh, an ideal statement of purpose would be if a reviewer is reading, if a professor is reading it. So they would want a person who knows what the professor is doing, what research, and if the ideal candidate would be if they have done something in that field or some other field, because it's not important that the ideal candidate would have done the same field, but an ideal candidate in the other field have gone through the process of research. That's an ideal candidate who for PhD has done research work, who has done research work, who has done the literature review part, who knows how to prepare things, how to do simulations, how to show some write-up that they can show. That person would be an ideal candidate. So the professor reading that statement would know that this person would it will be less effort for them to start you in that field. So where do you come from? uh, your research ambitions, those are important. So your reasons for wanting to take graduate study, this is the clarity. I've already told that the clarity, your motivation should be very, very important. So now briefly discuss your future goals and how your past connects with the degree and future ambitions. So research experience or background. So you need to have a research experience. You should have a research experience if you want to do a PhD. Or if you don't have that experience, then you need to show that you have done certain work which would help you over there in your research work. So research topic, when you're mentioning it, keep the big picture in mind, that what is the thing that you're motivating. Is it, so let's say it's an energy sector, so you're worried about the energy and how it will go about, and then you need to narrow it down what in energy you want to work on. So mention lead researchers or book names. You should mention lead researchers, so that will be able to connect with the reader. So do mention name of the professors. If you're applying to a program, do mention name of the professors. So relevant experience that you can show is that You have done some classroom work, you have done internship, you have done field work. So what skills you have, if you can convey that in your statement of purpose. So finally, most importantly, why are you the right fit? What attracts you to the program? Which particular professor should be appropriate for, if you're applying to a certain program, you need to mention at least 2 faculty members in that program that you would be interested in to work with, because that would make a connection with the reader that this person has actually uh, approached a professor or has followed someone that he or she want to work with. Um, the big picture: be modest and confident. Don't boast your achievement, just be modest, just state them and be confident about it. Discuss your goals and your aims. Try to make a connection by personal anecdotes. Uh, so a sample statement or purpose examples. So in the first example, you can read it later on as well. The person is just stating that they want a PhD in fine arts program for creative writing at university because they believe in writing will blossom their program. A second statement: when I was 11, my aunt passed away and left me something that changed my life. So this is a personal anecdote. Uh, Checklist for an SOP: it should be organized. Each of the paragraphs should be connected. The final paragraph should have a connection with the first paragraph. There should be a hook, that why did you like this uh, certain field and how it connects with your background. Discuss your academic background. Specify professor you want to work with. Um, Publications are important, but not any publication. Publication at good places get recognized. Publication at not so good places do not connect with the reader. So further, a few more explanation about problems in the background you might have faced, explanation why you have chosen a specific field, why you're attracted to the program. So proofread and copy edit. Always ask your friends who have good English writing skills that to check your statement of purpose. So that is very important. Uh, what to do next? After this workshop, write your own statement of purpose, 2 pages long. Just get it out of your system. Write whatever comes to your mind so you know what you have written. Then go over this presentation again and follow the steps. So search writing tips for university that you want to apply to. All the universities have writing tips. Follow them. Find the mission statement of the professor. There was another workshop by a Fulbrighter, Nigare Noor, on 20th March. You can follow that on USEFP YouTube page. Go over that. If you're applying for Fulbright, see Fulbright Heroes. They have many talks on Fulbright. The final thing: rewrite, read other sample SOPs and rewrite. Get it checked from multiple people, multiple friends, peers, colleagues, supervisors. These are the few references that I used. And thank you all. Sorry, I had to rush through the last few slides because our time was getting short. Yes, Mariam, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Ali, for such a detailed breakdown of the entire statement of purpose and guiding our students through it. We got plenty of questions. I'll start off with the first one that came on our Facebook page. Farida Hikmat Khan wants to know that is it okay to write your objectives and goals in bullets, or should it be in a paragraph form?
It should be in a paragraph from, because it should be a storyline. The statement of purpose should be a storyline, not mere listing of facts. Yep.
Thank you for answering that. Faisal bin Al Abid wants to know that should he start off with writing a general statement of purpose first and then move on to modifying it and making it better?
Yes, because many times what happens is that students wait till the final, close to the deadline for the statement of purpose, and they think that they have a storyline which might connect. They need to get that storyline in the form of a paper so that they know that what they think was the right thing is out of it's written, it's there. The job comes after it is to refine that the initial statement. So I wrote my statement of purpose at least 3 times before it went to the final version, which I used later on. So you have to rewrite.
Thank you for answering that. One of the attendees wants to know that should study objectives and personal statement essays be mutually exclusive?
Personal statement, and can you repeat the
Yes, personal statement and study objectives.
personal statement and study objectives should be coherent, that they should convey that that it's the same person. So in the statement of purpose, it's the person that gets to show. The research objectives are more focused. So your motivation in the statement of purpose and the research statement is basically the same. It's some area that you want to work in, but the research statement is much, much more focused.
Thank you for answering that. As we know that there are plenty of students who have joined us today, and they're not sure if they would be applying directly for a PhD. Let's assume they have a bachelor's degree, and now they know that there's an option of directly going for a PhD without doing a master's, and the US accepts that. So if there is a student like that who has done bachelor's and is now applying for PhD, how would their statement of purpose be different from someone who has done a master's and is applying for a PhD? Can you shed some light on this?
Okay. So the motivation to do a PhD remains the same whether you have done a master's or whether you have done a bachelor's, right? Your motivation to have new knowledge, to make an impact. So that motivation is the same. So what have you done to achieve that motivation? Have you done in your bachelor's some work that will help you in your graduate studies? Have you acquired skills which will help you in the graduate studies, which one may like two-person might have the same skill set, one with a bachelor's, one with a master's, and a skill set of bachelor's might be more apt for a PhD degree. So have you acquired those skills to make the connection? Because over there they don't check whether you have a master's or not. It's not the must thing. The skills are research publication might be.
Okay, for somebody who does not have any research experience and is applying to a PhD program, let it be someone who has done masters, how would you tell them to work on their statement of purpose? How would it be different for them?
So you don't have research experience, however you are motivated about a research problem, and that research problem, you need to make connection. It's not that it came in the news or it was important for Pakistan and it got you motivated. It should be more than that. You have worked something to have it. So maybe you were a medical professional and you were in some village and there was some disease that broke out and that influenced you and you found a way to help over there, though it's not a research experience, but it's a motivation in that direction. So do you have the motivation to pursue a goal, to a big goal? Do you have that? Can you convey that?
So what I can make out from what you've said is that in case you don't have a research experience and yet you're applying for a PhD, which is research based, if you can show your motivation through through your statement of purpose, it will be perfectly fine, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Because at
we'll
the
move on.
end it's the motivation that takes you through the program. Yeah, it's the
True.
motivation that takes you through the program. So if you have that.
Yes, very rightly said. So we have a student, Naveed Ahmed, who wants to know that do we need to go for keywords of university or for the specific professors or lab?
uh, Either way it is fine. If you find keywords of a professor, that's perfectly fine. Either way it's good. I think it's better if you find keywords of the lab. That would be much better, because keywords of universities are broad. So you need to be focused. So department or a lab would make you more focused.
And what if it's a professor? Can they approach directly to a professor?
Yes, they should. They should. That's the best way that you should start writing to a professor and start getting accepted. If a professor accepts you, then everything falls in its place. So yes, you should.
We have another student, Salman. He would like to get in touch with you about statement of purpose, and he has a few follow-up questions which he would like to write to you in email. Would it be possible for you, Dr. Ali, to share your email with students who are attending this session today?
You can add me on LinkedIn. My name is Ali Hussain Kazim. You can add me on LinkedIn and you can ask me questions over there. I think so that would be more suitable.
That is so generous of you, and thank you so much for doing this session today. Um, your final comments about statement of purpose for students who are aspiring to apply for Fulbright. Um, your final words for them. As a matter of fact, I do know that you applied for Fulbright twice, if I'm not wrong. How did you get through the process, and if you could guide our students about it?
So I applied for a master's the first time when I applied, and then I applied for a PhD the second time I applied. So right, I even applied in like for bachelor's. I applied to the same university thrice actually. So each I have my first statement of purpose as well for my undergrad. So each time I kept on improving. I had my initial statement, then another few years after, and then the few bits. So I had done the working, and so it helped me to improve my initial statement of purpose, and also to build my CV for a PhD. So over the years, I think so the hard work paid off working.
Thank you. Thank you for answering that. With that, we will be ending our session today. Thank you everyone who joined us today. Okay, we have another question. So we have an attendee
Okay.
here who wants to ask us about listing journals while writing statement of purpose. Can we specify the number of journals or conferences?
Yes, if you can specify journal, but I would say even one quality journal would help you through the process much more than five mediocre journals. So if you really want to make it a point, even one journal at a very good place would make a difference in an application. Mentioning that would really help. And if you have done conferences, mentioning that as well, but mention the experience of writing to that journal, or experience of going to that conference, meeting those people, how it expanded you, not just mere listing of those things.
So you have to write in detail about them.
Yes, write detail about them, how much difficult it was to get that journal done.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Ali. With this, we will end our session today. Thank you to all our attendees who joined us today, and thank you to Dr. Ali again. Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.